morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning trading session. Hang on one second here while I get the screen share going on. I hope everyone had a nice weekend. Ours was a little on the wet side. Yeah, thanks, Keith. Keith says, I hope you made it through the storm without too much damage. It was funny. It was not nearly as bad as the weatherman was forecasting, which I suppose is a good thing. We did get some pretty interesting wind gusts blowing through and loads of rain. Of course, we're very familiar with rain here in the Pacific Northwest. My big concern was I've got some pretty big trees near the house, and of course with all the rain, the soil gets pretty soft, and with the high winds, well, you just expect one of those trees to come falling over. But fortunately, no damage, just a little bit of a mess. All right, so we've got the NASDAQ opening here this morning, and it looks as though it's a fairly soft open for the most part. We're kind of in a little bit of a trading range here. Actually, let's take a look at one of the other tools because it's not as easy to identify on the Eagle. So, Friday session pretty much trapped right in here. This whole range between, say, 48.15 and 4800. Through the overnight, oh, here, I got too many lines going on. Let's go to the Raptor. All right, so we've got a range. It looks like it's sitting somewhere around 48.15 to 4800. It did break down ever so slightly on Friday, and then through the overnight, we were trading below here, but here we are right back inside this range. So I'm not entirely sure whether the market is still range bound or if we're going to try to make a break for it to the downside, seeing how traders broke through the 4800 low during the overnight trading. Right now, however, the Raptor looking a touch bullish. Crude oil also falling off a little bit here. One second while I bring over the crude oil chart. So here, crude oil, we've already had a nice first micro-macro cross signal and a decent move lower. So crude oil definitely looking bearish today. And that may end up weighing on the stock market. Okay, we're getting a little bit of a mixed bag here with our signals so far. Okay, no green bar sell, getting a red bar buy. We're into the hard edge now on the Raptor. There's our green bar sell. This would be our first signal of the day. And the nice thing on this one is we could look at taking a second push on the signal. Ooh, that's going to be a little bit too far away. Can I cover it above the swing high at least? Yes, I can. Oh, come back here. Shoot. Okay, I can readjust this trade now to look for that second push on the entry. And essentially what I'm doing here is I'm looking for the market to try to regain the downtrend. Given this sideways range, though, that I pointed out around the 4,800 area, remember the safest course of action is to let the market break out, retest. I suppose you could look at this as a retest as well, what we're seeing. So there's the bottom end of the trading range. The market is broken down, trying to retest that area of support. Let's see whether or not they come out of there and continue lower. Of course, if they fail at this point, then there's a very good chance that the market will head higher from here. Okay, just making a couple notes here in my trading journal. Okay, they're trying. Come on, get going. Get going. If we can see a bar or two here move in our favor, we should at least be able to hit our break-even trigger. As we look for yet another retest of the low. Come on, let's go. Come on. Oh, had a nice little first micro-macro cross signal there. In the hawk. While we're waiting for the eagle to come around. For you Raptor traders, we could be looking at a cloud crossover here as well. So the cloud crossover occurs when the clouds cross over, the market retreats into the cloud supports the market, or in this case, I suppose, rejects the market, pushes it back out, and produces the signal. That would be our cloud crossover signal. Market's thinking it over here. Come on. So if I can see this bar finish on the low, I think I'm going to become a little bit more aggressive with my stops. Yeah, at least the parabolics. There we go. Come on, keep going. Boy, they're dragging their feet through here. Okay, so I'm just going to give them to this little itty-bitty swing right now. It's essentially the break even on the signal, even though I ended up getting into the trade a little bit later. Come on. Come on. Doggone it. All right. I'm going to take the trade to break even. I don't feel like waiting for them for too much longer. If they don't go at this point, then go ahead. Take me out. You see, by looking at this as well, it starts to look like a retest of the low. Right? See how this could possibly be a test of the extreme? We've made a higher swing high relative to this. Now this is just a minor little swing high, but still it is a higher swing, still lower relative to the others, and I think we're falling on a trend line as well, so maybe I was a little bit too quick with that. Yeah, we got a nice little trend line reaction there. My concern was that this might well be a retest of this low. Of course, if it turns from here and heads higher, it's going to take out the highs and head the other way. Alright, so we're just kind of humming and hawing here, hanging out. Let's see whether the Raptor gives us that cloud crossover signal. They're still working on it. I suppose if you were a little bit more aggressive on the trade, you could have considered this signal your cloud crossover. I know it's a little bit hard to see. We've got this other green line printing here. And it came a little bit early. You know, this would have been a better cloud crossover signal. This one that was trying to develop. We have the warning dot, but no follow through just yet. And yes, this is a 4-arrow consolidation and a macro pullback that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4 signals. Well, depending where you started counting, this could be the 4th signal right here. The problem with this trade is not the signal so much as where do we cover it. Pretty much there's very little structure through here. You pretty much have a pretty big risk out of the gate, and it's still early. Now we're into yellow bars, of course. The Falcon looking like it might try to turn over and test the top side. I don't know if we have any real direction to the market just yet. Very atypical for a Monday. Normally Monday we see, you know, everything hits the floor out of the open and there's a big move. And then everybody goes and does their paperwork. Then they come back in the afternoon and do it all over again. But not yet. All right, so the hawk now into some green bars. The falcon also into some green bars and a green trend line. All right, trying to get a first micro-macro cross higher. So look at what happened here. Prices ran back up to the 4,800 level, and now they're coming back down, producing yet another sell signal, at least on the Eagle. We're getting our green bar sell again. Things a little bit conflicted here. Okay, let's just see what they do when they get back down here to these lows. You see, we can do a second push entry any time after the signal prints. For instance, I suppose technically you could even treat these lows here as a second push entry of this signal. And there they go. All right, so it looks as though we may be in a downtrend today after all. You know, just when you think things are shaping up, I'm just curious, would we have met our profit target? Yeah. Had we taken that very first signal, it looks like we would have found our profit objective. But now there's a lack of follow-through yet again. Still making me wonder whether we have a retest here of the lows or not. So here, where are we on the Falcon? So we took a minor break here with the median line, broke down, hit the primary support, broke down to the secondary support, which is where the overnight lows bottomed out. All right, this first micro macro cross is sitting here, kind of teasing me into shorting it. I think what I would do is I would take a single on it. It's not the best looking trade, I have to say. We're trying to short at the bottom end of this trading range. What I'll do is I'll try to run this out. Oh, and it's near the top of the hour as well, so almost the end of our opening range. This is either going to break in a big way or it's going to turn and smack me. Come on, get down below those lows. Very, yeah, Stephen, I would love it if you would forward that article to me. Stephen just wrote here, I recently read an article about trading the first 5 to 7 minute opening range on the NASDAQ. What do you think? Well, you know, I believe there's some logic to it. I've known several traders who like to take that first signal. They feel that that first signal, if nothing else, is going to have at least enough momentum to it to find their profit objective. So yeah, you know, I don't see anything wrong with the notion. I would love to see the NQ break down below the low here. You've seen in the past how sometimes that first move of the day is the most pronounced, especially lately. Come on, give me that break. Come on. No, The buyers just won't go away. Here they come. Last chance. Last chance. Nope, didn't work. I was going to say last chance for the sellers. We'll see. Maybe I was just a little bit too quick with my stop again, but I don't like the lack of follow-through, the hesitation. Let's see, would I have found my profit target if I were all in, all out? No. I would have hit my break-even trigger. All right, well, that's twice now that they've tried to move lower, somewhat unsuccessfully. All right, well, we've got a late filter entry signal building here as well. The signal is not complete, however, until the trend line comes back into sync. So if we're going to do this late filter entry, we really need to short below the low of this current candle, which is going to complete at 47.86. Yet another sell signal. You know, what happens is you see selling attempt after selling attempt after selling attempt, and of course the opposite is true for the buyers. And no follow through to the short side. That I just can't help but think there's going to be a rally. All this selling and no follow through, that's a little annoying to say the least. There we go. Get into green bars now. I don't need to worry about you. All right. Well, if you excuse me for just a moment, I'm going to be right back. Okay, what did I miss? Well, not too much from the looks of it. We are working a little bit of a trend change, though. I suppose we did get a trend change signal here in the Falcon, and soft edge buy signal here on the Raptor. So it does look as though the buyers have shown up, and we might get that rally now after all. So they seem reluctant to head lower. We'll see now whether we get a first micro-macro cross higher, possible cloud crossover, maybe a trend line touch. I don't know if it's too early to call this a rule of three. Well, I suppose we do have the downtrend. 1, 2, 3 signals, counter trend. So there's signal 1, there's signal 2, there's signal 3. Yeah, Russell's just pointing that out. Russell just wrote, so what do you think of that rule of three signal? Well, it has all the elements, Russell. We've got a downtrend. So remember, whenever you have a counter trend signal, first and foremost, you need to have a trend preceding it. So we've got the downtrend. We've got the three failures. There's failure 1, there's failure 2, there's number 3, and we have had a retest of the low. So yeah, it's got all the elements of a rule of three. Remember with the counter trend signal as well, if you're unsure, a counter trend signal almost always precedes a with trend signal. You may end up entering a little bit higher than you would have off the rule of three signal, but it also helps skew the probabilities in your favor. I knew you were going to ask me about that, Russell. I was just waiting for that. If there's a rule of three or a 4-arrow consolidation, you seem to be all over it. So we do have a chance here for a second push on this rule of three signal if you wanted to set it up like this, perhaps cover below the low. Ideally, this low would be even better, but I'm pretty sure this one would suffice. Again, very little follow through right now. Tony says we've got a 3-arrow consolidation in crude oil that's kind of dragging its feet. Let's go take a look at that. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, however you want to point it out. Here's the macro pullback as well. I do believe crude oil owes us one more move lower. So there might be a scalp in here. The problem, of course, where do you cover it, right? Very little structure. If you cover above there, well, I can't afford it. And if you go in too tight, well, then you're just keeping your fingers crossed that the market hits your profit objective before it tags you out. Just kind of waiting to see whether they settle in on a direction this morning. We saw a couple attempts to move the market lower here out of the Eagle. So here's the open. Attempt number 1 to move lower, attempt number 2 to move lower. Not much follow through. Now the buyers are taking their kick at the can. Yeah, I agree. Tony says it seems to me like neither side has any guts. That's exactly what it looks like. They're playing possum. They're just sitting there. Well, the good news is we're back up toward the top end of this trading range, around 4,800. So a failure here should see prices head a little bit lower. Okay, there's a first micro-macro cross there. I'm waiting on this Raptor signal, this cloud crossover signal. This is the one I'm looking to try to get on board with. There it is. Let's see if it engages. Oh, it's moving away. Is it right on the high? We'll go one tick above the high of this bar. So the cloud crossed over. We got a little bit of a retrace into the cloud. I need to cover the trade all the way down here. In fact, what I should do is, because it's still so early, oops, that's not what I wanted. I should go in with a single. There we go. Are they going to follow through on that, or are we just going to keep going sideways? Yeah, that's a pretty good observation, Russell. Russell says, it seems that if the market opens near the day before's close, it opens choppy and indecisive. That versus an opening gap. And yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, Russell. All right, so this signal kind of fading from that signal. So we'll put that back on the shelf. At least until it develops into a slightly better cloud crossover. I think we've got the market fairly pinched now, though. We're up against the hard edge. I would love to see it come back with a buy signal. All right, here we go with yet another green bar sell here on the Eagle. They're just not giving it up. I would wait for the ATR to turn over. And what that means is I would have to let this next bar become my signal bar. I see there's a couple new names in the trading room. Welcome, you new DTS owners. If you have any questions, please don't be shy to ask. Just type away in the chat window there, and I'll do my best to answer your question for you. All right, so we've got a fairly decent macro pullback signal brewing here now. Can I cover it like that? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to throw this in for a runner. All right, for better or for worse, here we go. Wow, it's been 20 minutes since the last signal. Okay, hit our first profit target. Rest of the trade is at break even now. There we go. There we go. That's what we'd like to see. Okay, and I'll go with the parabolic stops. They tend to be a little bit more aggressive. Oh, way to go, Tony. Tony says he picked up that late filter entry signal on the Falcon as well. Oh, nicely done, Tony. So here's the late filter entry signal, folks. The late filter entry signal occurs when the filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync. The trend line never ever changes color. That's a very high probability signal for us. Here on the rule of three signal that we were talking about before with the eagle, 1, 2, 3 failure signals, notice the with trend signal? It came, again, you gave up a few ticks here for the later entry, but the probabilities by waiting for that confirmation, that with trend signal, just gave you a little bit more on the follow through side. Okay, so how are we doing with our hawk trade? Not bad. If we can ride out this little itty bitty swing that it's trying to make, I'll get even more aggressive with my stops and perhaps go with the bar high low. Yeah, Russell says the hawk signal was textbook. Absolutely. A nice little macro pullback. Just the repeated failure to head lower, the breakout of, this little swing high. Come on, let's go. Don't stop now. So we're sitting at 48.10. Where's our next resistance line? Aha, that's why we're hesitating. We've got primary resistance here at 48.11.5. After that, it looks like we're up to 48.21, 21 quarter to be precise. That would be a nice profit-taking area. If we can manage to ride out this swing, though. Come on. All right. 48.07 quarter. All right, so when the dust settled, nice. Okay, let's put that back on the shelf for now. Well, that's a very strong rally. So much for the sellers taking control of the market. This is looking very much like a bullish rally now. bullish breakout. Just making some notes while the market is quiet. Good time to make notes in your journals. Tony says, as a scalper, I'm used to taking my profit and watching the price go higher, but that last hawk trade makes me jealous. You know, it happens every once in a while. You get that big follow through, but more often than not, you're always going to do better taking profit on target. If you happen to catch a runner, great, but it's not always easy to do, to be sure. All right, well, they're trying to flash another macro pullback signal our way. Not to say that the market isn't going to follow through and move higher from here, but the problem with the macro pullback signal is that we normally only see two within a trend. So this would be our last, potentially our last macro pullback signal. And the other problem is covering this trade, right? You would need to cover at least below the 47.90 area. It's just not the kind of trade that's giving me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Now, is it a high probability signal? Yes, of course it is. But you do need to cover it very, very deep if you're going to take this signal. The market is bullish, no question about it, but I could see a retrace at least to 4,800. And why 4,800, you ask? Well, 4,800 has been a very popular number this morning, and notice how close this little swing high is as well to the 4,800 area. If the market has been in a sideways range, or at least, you know, a basic support and resistance trading, when the market breaks out, it looks to retest and hopefully hold and then bounce higher. So that's why I'm saying if you're looking at this potential macro pullback signal, you need to cover very, very deep. Covering 4,800 isn't going to be enough because sometimes the market on this retest, well, sometimes it'll come up short, which is nice. Sometimes it will even hit it right on the number, which is rare. And occasionally it will even drift into the zone a little bit, trying to, well, what shall we say, trap out the early traders or the anxious traders. Maybe engage a few sellers as the market breaks this 4,800 area, try to load up on a few sell orders and then reverse and head higher again. So there's nothing wrong at all with entering early if we print that hash mark and getting in early. Just realize that you may have to hang on for a little bit before you get to a profitable position. Geiger counter pulling hard here to the short side. I think the market does owe us one more push higher to be sure. And now they're putting the brakes on again. All right, well, we'll just wait them out. Here on the Raptor, this was pretty much a textbook cloud crossover signal as well. So the clouds cross, the market retreats into the cloud, even encounters the trading band or the edge of the trading band, and bounces out, produces a signal. Then from there we get some very nice follow through. So good little Raptor trade as well. So they're just humming and hawing. A little bit of sideways trading after the rally. Trying to get a feel for whether or not that was a good idea for the market to rally higher. Like I said, I think they owe us one more move higher. Certainly Friday's highs well above here still. Friday's highs I think were somewhere around the 48, 40 or 50 area. So we're back into the trend line now on the Falcon, trying to produce a trend line touch signal. We've got the warning dots so far. We're kind of losing some momentum here. All right, so I could see the market possibly falling off here, testing the trend line, perhaps even the hard edge of the trading band before we get our next solid signal. So you can see why I suggested that you would need to run a pretty deep stop off this macro pullback signal. I'm not saying the signal won't work out. I do believe the signal will work out. It's just how long do you have to wait to hang in with this signal? If we do see it pull back somewhere to this trend line, again around the 4800 area, we're very likely going to get a red bar buy signal. That might be a little bit easier to take advantage of. Let's see, Tony writes, if there's a bull flag on the NASDAQ on the Falcon, it measures about the same as the last one. Oh, interesting. Well, you guys are just full of great observations. So what Tony is suggesting is this here would be considered a bull flag. So let's see, is it about the same size? Oh, it is too, look at that. Interesting. So this current bull flag that's forming same size as this one that just printed. Yeah, there's a lot of traders that they call it a measured move. I've heard it referred to as other things, but that's kind of the common term for it. And traders will look at things like, well, like bull flags, bear flags, pennants, ABC corrections, all kinds of things, trying to forecast how far the market is likely to go. I've always been one that's just kind of looked at swing highs and lows. You know, there's a swing high and swing low. Oh, a lot of traders use Fibonacci projections as well. Here's a little tool for you to play with. So they look at this and they say, okay, well, this move went this far. Therefore, you know, here's the 50% level. If it continues lower, it's going to go to 47.79. Or if it goes 2/3 lower, it could go to 47.77. Oh, we traders, we have endless ways to make things complicated. There's no shortage. I like your move, though, Tony. There's a lot to that. They've often said that about bull flags, bear flags, and pennants, that you could use those to measure the move, the breakout. Yeah, I was watching that too. Tony says, oh, we almost had a late filter entry signal here. I was watching. Almost, not quite. Trend line now, of course, changing color. That kind of spoils the late filter entry. And the late filter entry, remember, too, is like the macro pullback signal. You don't want to see it produce too many signals within a trend. Right? You don't want to see, like we had a solid late filter entry signal here, good follow through. That pretty much exhausts this signal. Just if we came back with another late filter entry signal, it would still be a high probability signal, but I wouldn't expect as much follow through out of it. And then, of course, if we got yet another late filter entry signal, I would start to get a little bit leery. It's not that I wouldn't take the signal, but I would look at things like a second push on the entry. I would certainly dial down the risk. I would run as deep a stop as I could to try to give the trade as much time as possible to mature. All right, so we're seeing the sellers trying to fight the market back now. We're into the trading band here on the Eagle and the Raptor, not quite to the hard edge just yet. However, you can see we've intersected the trend line. We're on the median line on our support and resistance lines. We are producing a yellow bar, which would be our 4-arrow consolidation. Oh dear, you're going to make me look at this, aren't you? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's the 4th arrow. All right. Can I go in with a single? Cover down there? No, I can't. You know, the other thing you can do, folks, if the trade manager isn't allowing you to take the trade with the parameters you want, you simply pass on the trade. Right? Nobody says you have to take the signal. High probability signal or not. so this signal is going to print 4803 quarter. The bar beside it, the high is 4803 half. You could even allow a tick above there. And what this is the red bar buy signal. We've got a red bar printing with a possible buy, or you can see this as a 4-arrow consolidation. Either way will do. Oh, there they go, lower still. Now we're definitely into a red bar buy. No, I'm not liking this one very well. I would have rather entered up here, but here we go. Seeing a little bit of early buying, perhaps, right back here at 4,800. It's going to be a number to remember. All right, there's the complete signal now. Come on. Yeah, you stinkers. See, it's just the sideways nature of the market this morning. You scoundrels. Now I'm going to have to nurse this one back to a break even. Let's the buyers finally decide to show up. Here now the first micro macro cross lower. The buyers have to recover at this point, or the next push, the buyers have to recover. If not, we're going to see the market tail off here back to the lows. Come on. Like I said, last chance. All right, so I'm going to roll my stop in below here and hope, please, please go higher. Never hurts to beg. Come on. Got a little bit of a break here. Let's see whether or not they can follow through with that. Come on, let's go. Doggone it anyways. They're just stalling here off this macro line. Actually, what I'll do, there we go. Here we go. Oh, I might get that profit target after all. All right, let's leave that up there. Things are coming around a little bit. Oh, maybe, maybe. I was just looking for, if it went up here a tick, I was going to grab the tick and run away. So my original stop was 48.05. Let's go back there. Well, there we go. We're actually, we were positive there for a moment. Come on. Let's just get a little fall through. All right, I have no choice. I don't like to do this, but I got to bring out the mouse. I got to push this a little bit higher. There we go. Come on, get up there. Get up there. There you go. You can do it. You can do it. There we go. Come on. I don't like doing this for my own profit, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. All right. Well, it took us a little while to get there, but we did find our profit target, thank goodness. Overall, a fairly sideways day. I think we're going to wrap things up here this morning. If you're looking to trade for the rest of the day or this afternoon, it almost looks like we're kind of pinched within this range right now between these highs up here and the lows down here. And until we get outside of this range, it's going to be continued choppy trading. Tony says, does the SEC know about your mouse? It'll be our little secret. All right, ladies and gents, I'll see you again tomorrow morning, and we'll do this all over again. Bye for now.